Pure energy. That's what I think this is all about. Pure energy, right? We want something that is sustainable, that's easily accessible, and that sun thing seems to keep going all the time, right? You can't really turn it. It may not be on us at this moment when we're sleeping, but it's still out there somewhere in the world.
That's right.
Guys, give it up for sustainable solar in the building here. Nick Boling, Ronnie Mitchell, the owners. We wanted to bring in some experts to talk about this. I'm going to jump right into a quick shout out to our sponsors. Everybody can see on the walls behind me. There we go. We do have my good friends. Brooke is a great guy. He supports our community, but Carroll House Furniture, his sister's awesome too. And I just hang out with Brooke practically, obviously. But some people see me running around, and Brooke does a great job in our community. Thanks to Carroll House Furniture, because you like nice things in your little castle. But you need something important also to make sure you have power, right? We're going to get to that. With that, though, look at behind me. Which wall did I put it on? Yeah, you can see it there. There it is. Yep. And so I'm going to even switch that one more time, and I'll go back over here. We were doing dual monitors over here, everybody. So look at that. USA Mortgage, my good friends there. The Flowers team. We love those guys. We couldn't be doing all this without them. And great support that we've got from those guys. So we really appreciate that. With that, I'm putting up on the wall what we're here to talk about. There it is. SustainableSolarLLC.com, and we've got some pretty pictures we're going to put on the other wall. So now we've got all the walls all around us. The walls are protecting us, but we need some power for the walls. How do we get power, guys?
Well, of course, you call us and you get solar panels.
Give it up for Ronnie and Nick. Let's talk about solar. Why did you guys decide to get into this solar industry? I mean, it's emerging for the last 25 years. Some people obviously we should drive by. We see some these places that have solar panels out there. But why is this really taken off now to be something that really is important? And
well, obviously, the sustainable, hence the name, is a good thing for the environment, and solar has economic benefits also. So we really believe in solar. There are plenty of benefits that are offered by solar.
Okay, Nick, tell us more.
So I kind of got into solar. I started right after high school. I went to Crowder College down in Neosho, Missouri, and I got a 2-year degree in solar energy, and then also got a 1-year certificate in wind energy. And through my time down in at Crowder College, I got introduced to a couple other companies, and they taught me a lot about solar. I worked for 2 solar companies down there for about 3 years, and I also got NAPCEP certified while I was down there, which is kind of the big going certification in the field, and it's a good thing to know whoever you go through with solar that they are NAPCEP credited. So yeah, I got NAPCEP certified and got a bunch of other certifications through the years, and led at a couple different companies, and started my first company, Gateway Solar, 2 years ago. And after that, me and Ronnie kind of we were both working through a different company, doing some subcontracting work. We kind of joined up and we started Sustainable, and we benefited each other's in ways that each other were lacking.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, yeah, nobody's a master of all. It's what I say, master of none. Wow, now I'm messing it up. Master of nothing if you try to master everything, right?
That's right.
There's no way to do that. So if you guys are helping each other,
that's right.
You figure out Nick's strengths, you figure out Ronnie's strengths,
sure,
and now you've got a team built together that actually can produce good product for everybody. We spent quite a bit of time last time we talked to kind of talk about what we wanted to cover here, and a little bit obviously before the show here in the pregame prep, we call that,
right,
in the green room. And you guys, yeah, kind of it emerged a little bit because there were other companies out there and they're doing their jobs and do whatever but you saw where there was a need to come in and make some of this stuff right. Is that kind of how it went, Ronnie?
Yeah, it is. You know what, Nick and I, we look at ourselves as consultants more with as it pertains to solar. We want the customers to be aware and to be able to make firm financial decisions on as far as it comes to solar. You know, we're there to answer questions for the customer and educate them. So
Okay, Nick, tell me more about the same.
Well, we definitely
from both sides.
we definitely aren't afraid to tell you it doesn't make sense. That's the difference with us. We'll definitely tell you if it's going to make good sense in your case or if it's not. Because sometimes you know, you have a bunch of trees around your house and it doesn't make any sense, but sometimes it does. It just you know, we don't want to scare, you know, you. Continue on that.
No, I'll chime in there a little bit because I've been through this a little bit in our little planet, and I can tell you it ends up being an issue where very often there's a sales guy just trying to get a sale, right?
that's exactly right.
And he says,
Yes.
"Hey, I didn't check to see if the tree trim." Like you can see that now. Everybody's house is on Google. You can look at that and say, "There's no way we're going to put solar there." Well, we sold it to him. Go out there and get it to him, and he'll never know that he's only getting 50% of what he
That's
should.
exactly what
Is that what
Nick and
happens?
I do not believe in.
Okay.
We really do want to be honest with the customers so they're able to make the decisions for themselves. We are not high pressure at all. We state the facts as we know it and try to allow the customer to make those decisions for themselves. You know.
Nick, tell me about why that's so important for what you guys do.
So, I mean, one big thing is that a client really needs to know what they're buying as well, and we've seen it through other clients that have went through other companies that they didn't know what they were buying, and that's the big thing. We want to make sure you know, because a big misconception is that solar, I mean, it produces from the sun, but what if the grid goes out? Most people think that when the grid goes out, they're still powered because they have solar panels, but that's not the case unless you have batteries and
or some power source.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Or some power source, besides the sun, right? I mean, it gets into this becomes a real.
If you're a grid-tied system,
Okay.
there's different types of systems, which is important for the customer to be educated about. Is there's a grid-tied system, and with it being grid-tied, you know, when the grid goes down, you have no power, and that's the misconception that some people are being misled, is to think that just because they have solar panels in their house, when the grid goes down, that they will still have power in their home, and that is not the case without another source of energy to power that system.
Okay, so tell me then. I mean, there's obviously a lot that goes into making sure that this whole system does work, because sun is not always there. What are some of the hurdles? I mean, you got to have some experience with all of this stuff. Tell me, guys, a little bit more about your guys' background with regard to your experience in this industry, and just in general, where you guys come from, to help people understand what your background. Nick, why don't you start off with that one?
A lot of it goes back from everything I learned with, you know, that college and through all my other certifications, to where I can gain all the insight from what I learned, the science behind it all, to help people know what their system's doing. I mean, our website also, you can look at different services. You know, you can see what off-grid has to offer, what grid tied or battery backup. Those are pretty much the three different styles of systems. With grid tie, you're just solely solar panels on your roof or ground, and they will just cut back your electric bill and help you save at that time, but you don't have any backup power. Now then you go to battery backup. There's multiple different sizes of batteries that you can choose dependent on your load. Say I just want a few lights on and keep my meat from thawing out, you know, keep your fridge, your freezer on, stuff like that. A client can get a battery in conjunction with their solar panels and be able to power those few loads when the power goes out. And off-grid, it's a little more tricky. To be honest, the cost of batteries is quite high still. So in a lot of senses, it doesn't make sense. Maybe for like a small cabin or some kind of other place that is just going to cost too much to bring power into, or just you're not there all the time. You just want a little bit of electric at that spot.
Okay, so it sounds like when it gets down to it, the expert training you've had, I mean, certifications and things you talked about early on the show. I want people to understand. Just some guys picked up a couple solar panels and said, "Hey guys, we can make this happen," right? It's kind of catching on.
Right.
That's my joke about the internet. This internet thing's catching on. Well, with that, all kinds of new technologies, including solar. I mean, it really gets down to where this is an emerging industry.
Right.
Ronnie, tell us why that's important that you have the knowledge that you bring to this table here too.
Well, I mean, obviously, you know, for one thing, we need to have the proper training that, you know, to be able to educate our customers. But not only that, our employees need to have their certifications, their training, because, you know, we're putting solar in many cases on people's brand new roofs. You don't want somebody putting them on, you know, or working on in that situation that don't have the education and the training to back that up.
Well, and again, so important that it's not just, I mean, in an industry that's been around for a little while, but you have some guys. I guess a great point you were making, Nick, and Ronnie, you're obviously, that's what helps you guys is the training, the expert. Like, I'm a licensed loan officer. A lot of people do know that by now, but you have to renew your license every year, and that means you have to retest essentially, or retrain, or continuing education. Right. And that's what you guys sounds like. You guys are really on the ball with that.
You got to have continuing education because the technology's changed as time goes on. You know.
Okay. So very important, then, I guess, Nick, from what you've been saying too.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much every product we work with, we get all the certifications that we need for those. We actually have our whole wall in our office is full of different certifications us and our other employees have had.
Sure.
And I mean, it's a big thing, like Ronnie said, when we're messing with people's roofs. I mean, that's someone's biggest asset in their lives, and we're up there putting panels on.
We're about to either greatly increase the value of your house or potentially greatly decrease the value of your house if the job's not done
right.
And then I want to jump around here a little bit because I know we've got a number of things I always outline that I want to make sure we cover. But one of those is how often have you guys found that you had to come in and fix some other problems that were caused by, won't name any names, but does that happen fairly often? I know Ronnie talk about that a little bit.
It has happened. It has happened many, many times. We have been able to help a lot of clients. Either the jobs weren't finished correctly or they were left hanging to where they weren't complete at all. You know, a couple of weeks ago, Nick and I were able to help a lady that her system had been installed literally for 8 months and never had gotten any benefit out of that system. As a matter of fact, you know, Nick and I went and we corrected the problem. And that evening, the electric company actually called the customer and said, "Hey, you're showing up on our grid," and you know that makes Nick and I feel really, really good when we can help people out like that.
All right, Nick, you had something to say there?
Well, yeah, I remember. Wasn't there like 2 or 3 companies that actually were there prior to us, and none of them were able to figure it out? And that goes back to training.
That's right.
Because we were certified with that system to be able to diagnose it and deal with it and figure out what the cause and the root of the problem was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's some important stuff that people need to understand. I mean, because this isn't a $255 purchase, this is something that actually is going to be of significant implications for their long-term future benefit of their house, right? Many people, their house, that's what I love being in the real estate world.
Right.
It's the most valuable asset 98% of the population has,
Sure.
and it can really be their piece for retirement. You know, they got the $500,000 house that appreciated too when they bought it for $45,000, 20, 35, 50 years ago, whatever.
Right.
And now they can turn around and say, sell that thing, it's worth $500,000, and retire on it.
Sure.
And use it for their sustenance. And if you've got a solar roof on there, that could really help to provide for that a little bit.
Sure, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah, and it will up the value of your house as long as it's done proper, like we were talking before. But I mean, if you look at 2 houses, one across the street from you, they're the same thing. If you ever came down to the point that you wanted to sell your home, you're gonna gain. Someone's gonna look at the house with solar and more willing to put more money on a house like that versus the house across the street that's the same size and everything.
Right.
They would definitely rather have the one with solar.
Well, good points we're making there, because I know a lot of people don't understand when they're getting into this. It's just, hey, the government's got some incentives. We get it. It's good things that we should probably be including in what we're trying to work on.
Right.
But at the same time, we're not just going to depreciate, throw the one-off instance where they got taken something that didn't work out right, and it can be a very, very substantial loss to the buyer.
Right.
Okay, we've covered all that. That's cool. I want people to understand. But tell us the real benefits. I mean, what are some of the things? What is it that really fuels your guys' passion to keep this thing going? When you guys talk about what you're doing, why is this so important for our world right now?
I mean, or one big thing is that, there's a lot of incentives. You kind of touched on that with the federal government. They give you a 30% tax credit. And I mean, the big thing to know about that, though, there's a misconception there. With the 30% tax credit, it's not actually a physical check that the government is going to give you. If you're not paying into taxes at all, it has no benefit for you. But in most cases, working class people, they generally will be able to hit that point to where this tax credit is very beneficial for them. And if they don't use it all up in 1 year, it rolls on to the next year until they run out of that credit. So
There's some definite.
And I mean, we're not tax people, tax advisors. Just what we know about it. I mean, it's a big thing. You got to talk to your tax advisor to make sure it's going to be something applicable to you or not.
Right.
And there's some utilities that also offer some kinds of incentives. I mean, like Ameren, Missouri, they offer 25 cents a watt to go solar. And that's actually a check you get there pretty quickly.
They write a check for that.
Yeah, like 1 to 2 months after you're done with your install. So there's those types of benefits really help with the initial cost with the solar, and really helps people's return on their investment. And the big thing is that, we typically see, returns on investments from 10 to 15 years, which it sounds like a lot of time, but think about everything that we install is built to last at least 25 years. That's a whole 10 to 15 years after you've seen your return back on your solar system cost. I mean, that's a whole another 10 to 15 years that you're gaining. You're basically free electric at that point.
Basically free electric. Okay, that's a cool thing for most people that are going, all right, we want to make this thing financially. We love contributing to the world, but it needs to make financial sense too. And it sounds like you've already pinpointed a couple of things I hadn't heard before. And I just can't cover everything. Don't go over everything there is to know about anything. But I had not heard that one yet before. And people, if you owe taxes, well, and then you get into the, all right. So knowledgeable. So one of the questions I have for you then is, are you guys consultants? Is that what do you guys consult about solar? Is that really what you do? Not here to just sell anything. You're saying, I want to talk to you about
this. To necessarily sell anything. We do sell our own products.
Right.
But we're here. If somebody needs help, if they're unsure, if they're uncertain of whether the deal is beneficial to them, they can call us. We'll come and take a look and make sure, and we'll give you the honest truth.
All right. So tell me then, as we get into, what are some of the questions that consumers should be asking? I mean, there's a lot of people out there that would say, man, I'm excited. Looks like we should do this. Going to be great. Want to help the planet.
Right.
What are some of the important questions that they must ask first?
Well, I mean, obviously be careful of scammers. As with any industry, they are out there. Make sure that make sure you get somebody that answers all of your questions, like, is my roof condition, does it need to be upgraded before you put solar on? Because if you put solar on a bad roof and your roof starts leaking, guess what? You got to tear the solar off, pay us to come, or somebody like us to come and take the solar off so you can replace your roof. So you want to make sure your roof condition is up to par before you install your solar. There's other questions, the financing if needed. If somebody pays cash, that's obviously the best return on your money. But be careful with financing, because that can get pricey, as we all know. Make sure that you're getting quality products. There's obviously, as anything else, there's different levels of quality of solar products out there. So just make sure that you that you ask all of those questions. Nick kind of touched on the incentives. Make sure that your utility company is participating in because a lot of clients get told that their utility companies are participating when in fact they're not. So,
and a lot of people don't realize there are a lot of utility companies out there, everybody, that you want to make sure that they are included. A lot of people understand there's little bitty utility companies spread all throughout the country, right?
Sure.
Yeah. In St. Louis or in Kansas City or New York, there's one big company a lot of people may be familiar with. But if that company isn't partaking in this, that's something else that needs to do.
That's exactly right.
Oh, wow, better talk to some experts. Better talk to some people who know what they're doing, right? That's why you got to call sustainable solar, right?
That's right.
All right, I'm going to show up on the wall here for everybody. Take a look, as you will, everybody behind me. This is their website. Boy, is it easy to find the phone number there? Heck yeah. Way to go. I don't know who told you to do that, but that was a great idea. and that's
Thanks, Carter.
Well, we reviewed the site, and I know a lot of people, they want the information. I'm like, one thing you got to make easy for everybody is you show them the phone number. There it is, everybody, 636-489-2700. And you'll serve that. They can call that as a local number. You're talking to some local guys, but you service all over the Midwest and around the country.
That's true.
Okay, and then there's the a little bit more of a peek at the website. I want to also then show everybody a little bit about what this looks like. You got some good pictures there, but let's look at screen number 2. And at screen number 2, we have, look at that, man, some barns. And I mean, obviously, I don't think the solar's on the barn, but it's next to the barn.
It's actually on the ground and on the barn.
Is it on the barn too? Wow, okay, wait, look.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it is over there. As I look closely, all right, very good. And then some just great looking work, man. You really make a house look dynamite. I mean, man, those guys are cool. They got solar, right? And so a lot of great looking work you guys do there. And I wanted people to see that when we talked about that. So that's sustainablesolarllc.com, and that's up on the screen for everybody to see too. I'm going to go ahead and put, you can see there's Nick, the owner there, and there's the link to everything, and then Ronnie as well, as we put that on the screen for you guys. All right, well, let's go back and have a little more conversation where they get to look at some humans here as we talked about what this is all about. What types of systems are quoted? What does that mean? Or what does it mean for somebody to get a quote when they're talking to you guys? They say, I need a quote. What are they really getting?
So they're getting a full, we take their, first thing they need is their utility bill. We take their utility bill, look at their usage, and we will design a system that will offset as much as their utility as we can with the available space they have. I mean, we have software that calculates in the shading, if there's any, and it also calculates the pitch and what angle you are facing your panels to give a very, very detailed report on the production that you should be able to see. And then we base that with what their actual utility rates are and all those things to be able to show them if it makes financial sense or not, because there'll be bars and graphs and all kinds of stuff to show you what each month is going to look like potentially, and see kind of what your return on investment is. And we also take into effect electric's always going up. I mean, what was electric 10 years ago? How much was your electric bill? I mean, it takes into account for that and kind of shows you where you ought to break even at on your system, and then how much you're going to save in the lifetime of your system. And it kind of gives them a little look of what their system will look like on their roof as well, because we'll see how much will fit and all that. And then we meet at the client's house and go over everything and answer all their questions and let them see and make their decision.
Okay, that's important, and for that I put the Cardinal Cowboy hat on, because when we talk about customizing things, this is my own little customized hat,
Yeah.
and boy, that's important because there are no two houses that have the exact same
No.
solar condition on the planet.
That's right.
Not two buildings.
That is right.
No two buildings. Okay,
No.
that means it's very important that people get somebody that know what they're talking
Somebody
about.
that knows what they're talking
Ronnie,
about.
talk
Yes.
about that. I'm going on a tangent here, but I want to figure out why should somebody be very careful they get a custom design system. Obviously, that's critical.
Right.
Explain
Well,
that for me.
obviously, as Nick just spoke, you have potential shading issues. You've got all of those the factors that can come into play that can affect the performance of your solar panels. So therefore, that has an effect on whether solar would be a fit for you or not. So yeah, I mean that's really what drives us is being able to educate the clients. Let them make their decisions in an educated way, and that allows Nick and I to sleep at night. We would never take advantage of anybody. We're gonna show them the facts. Let them make the decisions. Our quotes are of no cost. We'll sit down and we'll do a quote. And as Nick said, we have all the software that provides all of this information that is critical in making those decisions.
Very important. Now we're getting into, I mean, I guess I have a particular affinity. I enjoyed being in the outdoors. I love the sun. I get a little tan every once in a while. All that's neat. That's good for us. Vitamin E, vitamin D.
Yeah, I believe that's what it is.
Vitamin D. I had a big scar on my head. Everybody knows about that from my coma and all that. But vitamin E for that. Vitamin D, I think you get from the sun. But there's also good use in for obviously the energy that's pulled out of that.
Sure.
And we're
That's
really
right.
talking about something that is so critical for our long-term. I mean, the most valuable company in the world right now is a mobile electronic car
exactly.
company based
That's
on electricity versus
That's right.
carbon and all that stuff there. And I can go into that whole discussion because there's arguments on both sides of that. But we better figure some of this out at some point because we know where that leads. But sun is just, it seems like almost an unlimited resource. I think they know this.
Well, I think
30 million years from now or something, it's going to. But we got a little time to figure that out.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I wanted to get into the depth of this conversation with these guys because I know there's a lot that people just don't understand. This entire interview does go for an extended version. We're going to continue for an hour, and we're coming up close here to the end of our first half hour already, guys. I told you it goes fast.
It goes quick.
Yeah, it does.
And so this whole interview does get cut up into clips. There will be a number of clips that you guys will be able to view where these two experts, as you can see now the camera there, our highly priced cameraman is doing good work here to switch our camera all around there. I appreciate you doing that. That's Nova. Thank you, Nova. And get a hold of these guys because they do know what they're doing and they're experts and they really get into it. So do check that out. And I would say with that, make sure you can see all that information out there on our websites. So with that, we appreciate you guys. We really want to thank you for your time so far. But hey, everybody, we're not done. This is going to go on now for another 30 minutes at least. We're going to talk about.